thing just kind of sitting?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where it is. I don't know. Maybe we can add that on DDA, because it would be there, right?
Mm-hmm. How are you, sir?
Oh,
You don't
okay.
have to be honest if you don't want to.
5 o'clock, let's call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Fitzpatrick,
Here.
Lassie.
Here.
Flossing.
Here.
White, absent, Zupansich.
Here, let's rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have anyone here for public input? No one is here for public input? All right, we'll go on. Additions or deletions to the agenda. I have some additions. We are adding an additional quote for the bug spraying quote under campground, AI. And then there is an addition of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency bill under the approval of all bills and payrolls. Moving 10 G and H to under committee reports, and we'll put that under C, under West Babbit Committee. So right here, 10 G and H. That's the West Babbit Committee. So we'll move that under the committee reports of 9. And then Joel, I have a question to ask you, so can I add that under your attorney's report? It's a question.
Is that the
It's
question? Or is that?
It's a double question, I guess it is, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, all right. Just a professional, just a question on a policy for professional required certificates and reimbursements. Are there any other additions or deletions?
I have a deletion on attorney's report. Well, Joel, I was going to say we're not ready for any agreements or amendments for the golf course because we're still waiting to hear from the gaming board.
Okay, so we'll take golf course
So I
off.
think we can just delete that for now. Addition,
Mhm.
we have a proposal for wetlands delineation.
Okay.
I'd like that added.
Would that be for EPA?
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Take care of it on EDA.
okay. Okay, any other additions or deletions? Okay, do I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda,
Okay, motion by Fitzpatrick, do we have,
or additions and deletions.
motion by Fitzpatrick, do we have a second?
Yes.
Second by Lassie. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 3rd and the minutes of the special meeting of June 9th. Approve all bills and payrolls as audited by the audit committee with the addition of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, the overtime report, the transfer of funds, and the correspondence from the highway annexation. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda.
Okay, motion by Lassie, do we have a second?
1 second.
Second by Lossing. Any discussion? Okay, I just have one question on the overtime report, and that was the DUI for 7.5 hours for the police.
Yep, so, Troy is at a training today, but I did ask him about that, and let me just pull up his response. The DUI happened right before shift change, and the nearest DMT operator was in White Lakes. So typically they would go to Ely, but he had to go to White Lakes. And then because it's an in custody report, it had to be written and evidence had to be electronically submitted before he could go home. Nothing abnormal about the arrest, it just came at the very tail end of his shift and Ely didn't have a DMT on duty.
Okay. All right, thank you. That was my only question. Any other discussion?
I just wanted to let you guys know that the Hideaway is officially annexed into Babbitt. That was a successful procedure, fairly cheap, it really only cost $50. So, trying to move on to the next phase.
Would that be under EDA or would that be under,
I don't know.
yeah, okay. I mean.
I put on this agenda because this is where it started. It
Sure.
didn't start on EDA.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Where did that?
I think, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, we did, okay, discussion, I'm sorry.
So we need-
All right, so yeah, roll call please. See?
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Halasi.
Yes.
Lossing.
Yes.
White absent. Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Attorney's report.
So, I'll start with the update on the campground seasonal forfeiture. My analysis of that is that yes, I don't know if the city has relet that out or not, but my opinion would be that it could be relet. I think best practice would be to have a release of the site signed by the renter that had paid for the season. So if they abandon it, if we're unable to get them to sign anything, then that's fine. But I can provide the city with a simple release indicating that they acknowledge they're not receiving a partial refund, but that they do release the site for the remainder of the season.
Okay, I mean, it makes sense to me. Did anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Keep going, Joel. You got highway sign replacement?
I don't have anything on that.
Okay.
I actually didn't put any of those three things on there, so I'm not sure if they were left on there or who had them added, but that was not something that I don't have any update on that.
Okay. Yeah, restitution. So did that go to court and?
It did, and I think where that came from, Joel, is that you were going to look into it, and that's why we're putting anything that Joel is supposed to look into under attorney's report. Yeah, we did get some information on restitution from another case, that we had going on here, and it just kind of told us what was going on. And in the event that we don't receive payment, it says on that sheet, which is a totally separate case, but very similar, something was stolen from the city and this person's paying restitution. If we don't receive payment, you just call the number on the letter that they provide the city, and then they follow up. And I think when you say don't receive payment, I'm not sure how long that means, but in the grand scheme of things, like if it's 30 days late, that seems like non-payment.
Okay. And then the question that I wanted added, Joel, that I had a question on. So if we hire someone, let's say, and they have to go to some professional designation, say they don't have a certificate, but it's like required for the job, or it's needed for the job, but say they don't have one, maybe there aren't any other applicants, they seem like a good fit, whatever it may be. And if the city pays for them to get that certificate, if they quit or if they're terminated within 3 years, is there any way the city can recoup that money? For example, there's a city clerk, I believe in White Lakes, who the city was paying for master classes, I think, or something like that, or master's degree, not 100% sure. But she ended up leaving before whatever, XYZ timeframe, 1 year, 2 year, whatever. And she is required to pay the city back for those courses.
Yeah, it's a good question. It is more fact specific than I think we'd be able to address right
Okay, no, I
here.
just wanted,
Yeah, so, because it depends, it's a marriage between both contract law of what you're providing as a term of the employment, that especially if it's a requirement of the job and you opt to hire them, It'd be like providing them with other things that they need to do their job. If it is an additional form of compensation and it falls under employment, it's like a mix between employment law and contract law. That's why it gets pretty fact specific. So I
Sure.
need to know a little bit more. We can talk more about it, but
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get that on the radar.
Yep.
So that's all I have. Okay, so on to unfinished business. Do we like not having unfinished business?
We're too efficient.
I just. Okay, committee reports, campground committee, professional bug spraying quote. Additional quote is on page 43.
Go ahead, Kirsty.
So our campground committee met, one of the things that the host had brought up is that the bugs are pretty bad. Last season, they did buy a little like backpack sprayer and they were spraying it themselves. Takes a long amount of time, a big amount of product, and it's not really seeming to do the job as well. So we looked into professional quotes to get the campground sprayed. The first one that was included is from Mosquito Squad. They gave a quote for just a one time, or if you want them to continually come throughout the season, I believe it's once a month. And then the second quote is a one-time cost from, I don't even remember the name of them. So there were two that I got. I did reach out to like 3 or 4, and those are the only 2 that responded back.
And what did the campground committee decide?
We just had them get quotes.
Okay,
We didn't make any decision as to whether we're gonna spray or not, because we didn't know what the cost would be.
okay. Do you want to look into those with the committee, or do you want council to make a decision
Well-
on that?
What do you think, John?
What is the other quote? I have Dr. Mosquito here.
The other one,
Yes,
John.
Mosquito, yeah.
The one-
Mosquito Squad is that first one, I think you have it.
Is the one-time 650, Kirsten? Is that
Yeah.
650 for the one time? And then if you get on a monthly schedule, you're looking at almost $4,000.
You have mosquito squad here, John?
No.
I'd just like to throw 2 cents into this conversation. What are the other campgrounds doing? Are they spending money on this type of expense, or are they letting the people by their own deed? That would be my question, where I understand.
It was my question too.
I understand it's sandflies and mosquitoes can get pretty horrid, but it's where we live. And
It's part of camping.
you know, if it's a standard in the industry and everybody else is doing it, you know, I guess there may be some consideration there, but
And I
a
couldn't
lot of
tell
people
you.
a lot of people will just fog their own little camp spot
And
area.
some
They'll-
people don't like that.
Yeah, and
because
some
of the
people don't
environment.
like the chemicals. A lot of people will use these electronic things that kind of is a deterrent. They'll put it and it's good for a 50-foot circle or a 100-foot circle or something like that. So
You sell bug spray in the gift shop?
They do.
Do they go through a lot?
Looks like they're going to.
and like anything, it's certain times of day when it gets really bad. When you get up early in the morning, they're bad, and right around when the sun goes down, they get really bad. They don't like the sun.
But if you're out camping, you should expect that.
I would
That's part of
agree.
camping.
I would agree.
Okay, well, is this something you want to make a decision on right now, or would you like the campground committee to look into it more?
Well, I think we should have some guidance before, it's
Mm-hmm.
getting
Bug season?
only about a month or so of bug season left. A couple months, but yeah.
And last year they did it themselves. Did they use, like, I don't know what the,
I'm thinking is these small packs,
yeah, did you
backpacks.
buy them, or
I don't know
did they
if
mix
that-
their solution?
Did Dave buy them himself, or, do we know?
Yes, so they just bought it, the campground bought it. It was just like, anything you can buy online, not like a commercial strength.
Okay.
They also bought that They purchased some this year and have been spraying out there themselves as well.
Okay.
I think the sandflies were horrid for a little while, but
Oh,
I
they
think
were.
they've gotten a little better, so.
Okay, all right, so decision to make no decision, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Camera at the boat landing.
This was also discussed at the campground committee. There have been some complaints, and this isn't anything new, it happens every year, people squealing tires, being rowdy at the boat landing, it's been an ongoing thing, and there was discussion about potentially purchasing a camera. Troy did say he would be on board for that if it was cellular or solar powered, so they could have access to it right then and there and didn't have to pull the camera, that way they could at least know who they're looking for if they leave as they're going out there. I'm sure if it's something that you guys would want to proceed with looking into further purchasing.
Well, I think this is more of a Babbitt PD thing than it is campground. So I would say, let Troy look into it, but, I think it would be beneficial to have a camera down there. But, I don't know, let's have Troy investigate it a little bit more.
Okay. On to planning commission. E, conditional use permit for Iron Range Partnership for Sustainability.
Okay, I believe, is that public hearing we had? Yeah, okay, we did, I'll tell you about this. We had the public hearing, and this was for the location on Mulberry, and it was quite well attended. And the people from Mulberry were about, I would say, 101% opposed to the site. And we sympathize with them. I think at this point in time, we do have an alternate site in mind that we will hold a public hearing on next week. So I am going to move that we deny the conditional use permit from the Iron Range Partnership for the conditional use permit at Mulberry.
Okay, is that are you making the motion?
I made the motion to
Okay.
deny the conditional use permit.
Okay, motion by Lassie, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Fitzpatrick, any discussion?
So the alternate, the other option, do you have one other option or more than one other option?
We have two options that we'll be discussing on Monday. One is a site up by between Central Manor and Nagley's property, and the other one is out here.
Okay.
Both would require rezoning to industrial district. With an industrial district, if you rezone that to industrial, then there's no need for a conditional use permit. They automatically can go there.
Isn't this already zoned industrial?
This is zoned light industrial, and I'd have to do a little more thinking out here. I'm not too much in favor of this site.
This is
Mhm.
recreation.
Yeah.
To me.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, we
that's
do have-
recreation.
We do have it zoned for light industrial, but there is recreation considerations. There's also water considerations where there is no water out here.
Mhm.
You know, to speak, you'd have to go to the warming house. So I'm going to look at the site up on Central or North,
Yep.
on Central Boulevard. I think that's a very lucrative site. The land has been vacant for the last 60 years.
You shouldn't have neighbors shouldn't, you don't have that.
That's a good location, I
that
think.
issue with neighbors.
It's very
Yeah.
visible.
Yeah, and there's no disruption, so to speak, because they're going to be growing it in the winter.
Right. What
So-
time is your hearing at?
4:30 on Monday, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to keep track of all these dates and these meetings. I need to hire a secretary, I think.
Okay. Okay, so, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. West Babbitt Committee, Jason.
Is there no double I on the previous?
What? Oh.
Planning commission?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Okay, sorry, not you, Jason. 6.45 acre parcel Kirkus and Evanston land proposals. Includes Kirkus's amended offer. So there was some discussion on this last time.
Yeah, you recall that it was zoned as a conservancy district. And then we rezoned it to light industrial business district. And we had an offer from Kirkus and Evanston to purchase the land, and then they would also request the rezoning back to the conservancy district. And their purpose would be that to not allow development. But I would like to defer down to new business D, where we'll be talking about a dog park in that area. So I think I'd like to talk about that all at one time if we could.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
There's a lot involved here, involving the purchase request from Kirkus and Evanston, plus city use for a dog park and so on. So I'd rather not make a decision on this at this time.
So the letter from Mr. Kirkus here is not about the 6.5, but about a smaller, as you probably read, it's about a smaller piece of that 6.5. Did you see that?
That's my understanding.
Yeah,
Mhm.
2.75 on the other side of the gravel trail. So,
And Evanston wants the road, or?
Well, he
He
wants.
wanted the whole parcel at one point.
Yeah, there's other issues with the Evanston. He wants an easement on the road to provide access to his property in back of Elm. And there's several things that have to go into this, but I will have a recommendation later.
Okay, alrighty, so we will move that over to
Yeah.
the end there. Okay, now Jason, West Babbitt Committee. So there are two items here, CDBG grant for West Babbitt Development, and then the West Babbitt Development Project bids opening.
Yeah, the first thing is, we did have a committee meeting a few weeks ago, and you did receive late last year CDBG grant, $100,000. Part of that grant, they go through a process of doing an environmental assessment. That money comes from the federal government through HUD. The St. Louis County performs environmental assessment. They came back and informed us that there is an issue with the funds being utilized for infrastructure as it relates to housing, because north of the highway from our development are the bulk storage LP tanks, which are within a hazardous blast radius of the funds being used for infrastructure. So there are two options if you want to utilize the $100,000 grant. One is to work with the LP companies to either bury or relocate their fuel tanks, or build a blast protection wall across that the north end of the development.
Both options are significantly more than the grant.
Yeah, I don't know how receptive the private companies are gonna be to move the LP tanks. And yes, putting a engineered blast protection wall as a barricade would not be cost prohibitive. So unless the city has another idea, my recommendation at this point is if you want to move the project forward to inform the county, you wouldn't be able to utilize the grant for that project.
Mhm. Yeah, so we were awarded the money, we cannot use the money. So we need to make a motion to send it back, basically, right?
Yep, and I think we did ask her during that meeting, was there any issues with it? She said there wasn't, to her knowledge, there was no issues, saying, hey, now that you've done this review, we cannot use this money on this infrastructure.
I'll make a motion to send back the CDBG grant for West Babbitt Development.
Okay, motion by Fitzpatrick. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Lassie. Any discussion?
so Jason, you don't foresee this being a problem with any other steps in the process?
No, in fact, we are just submitting now for the two other permits required, which are the water and sewer system, which we'll have those back within a couple of weeks. Other than that, no, those funds were federal funds, and those requirements were tied to those federal funds. The other monies that you have for this project are state funds, bonding, and IRRR, and those requirements are not in place, so. No, as far as I'm concerned, unless the city has other information, you guys feel like you have the financial package in place. And we are moving forward. That's the next item on the list is that within a couple of weeks, I feel like we'll be ready to go out for advertisement for construction bids. So just looking for permission from the council that when we are ready, that we'll advertise for bids. I would assume sometime in early to mid-July.
Okay.
That would put us on a schedule to advertise in July, open bids in August, and award to a contractor this fall, which was the original intended schedule.
Okay. All right, so, motion on the floor for the CBDG grant. So any further discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Lossing,
Yes.
White absent, Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. West Babbit Development Project bids opening. So getting back to that now, Jason, I thought we were hoping to like start sooner than fall. So that wasn't it?
Well, yeah, once we advertise, we have to do a 28-day advertisement.
Right?
So that would be opening in August, let's say mid-August.
Mhm.
By the time you award to a contractor, usually I'd say 4 weeks.
Mhm.
That's mid-September. So
September.
by September, they could get in up until they close for the winter.
Okay.
And then we would have the construction contract pick up again in the spring and then be finished next summer. I think initially we talked about that, but with the last couple of meetings, things moved a little bit slower
Right.
than expected.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So actually that buys us more time to either find a developer or a contract, or what the committee can determine what's gonna be the best option. I think the committee talked about it one time, did we? Maybe not, I don't know. Instead of having a developer doing individual contractors, I think maybe that was just you and I.
Yeah, and you asked me to reach out, I did reach out to a couple of home builders in the Ely area that said they'd be willing to meet with the committee.
Right.
So if you would like me to help arrange and schedule that for a committee meeting, they can be willing to come and discuss that.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna be faced with, if we can't find a developer, how are we gonna sell these lots? Are we just gonna sell them like Mulberry? And then go forward that way? Because they will hopefully be ready next year.
Yep.
So, okay,
Yeah, let's set up a meeting with the developer. We already talked to one,
mhm.
so.
But yeah, other than that, I just need a motion to
Yep.
go advertise for bids once the project's ready.
I'll move we allow Jason to seek bids whenever he's ready.
Okay, motion by Lassie, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Fitzpatrick. Any discussion?
So
Jason,
I
sorry.
had one other item is, I think it was discussed at the last council meeting, I wasn't here. But we do need 2 temporary construction easements for the tying of the road, and I think you emailed Joel last week, so I will reach out to him about getting some documentation together to get those temporary easements in place.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Lossing,
Yes.
White absent, Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. I remove Cody Rasmussen from.
Oh, sorry.
For Pete's sake, no, thank you for keeping me.
Boy, I like your speed though.
Yeah, right? I was like, how are we at the end already? Okay, sorry. Okay, now we're new business, clerk treasurer round 2 interviews. So we had a study session earlier today, or right before the meeting, and we have narrowed it down to 3 candidates. And so we are hoping to schedule interviews June 30th? Is that what we said? Yep, June 30th. Mm-hmm.
At 3 o'clock.
Uh-huh. And so we just need a motion for that?
I'll move we schedule around 2 interviews, on the 30th at 3.
Okay, motion by Lassie, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Lossing. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
I was reading something.
See, you're like me now, jumping around too.
Yeah.
Okay, motion carries. So B, clerk treasurer contract revisions. So those were all in your packets. If anyone has any changes.
So I think, obviously somewhere along the line, we're gonna have to set a negotiating wage to start off when we pick, we figure out who the candidate is going to be. But I think in prior discussion, we talked about overtime compensation. And if I'm not mistaken, we talked about,
Being salary.
yeah, the position being salary and, the wage is going to compensate for that, which would be in line with what a lot of other communities are doing. But there is also a limit to the amount of hours without some compensation. I know with other communities, you know.
So what are you suggesting?
That is a salary position. The finalized verbiage, I think, we need to probably look into get some examples, maybe. Whatever, I don't know, what does everybody else think? I just know that here it says overtime hours worked in excess of 40 will be paid compensation. We know we don't want that. Or I guess I know I don't want that.
Okay, thoughts?
I think if you're a salaried employee, you should be smart enough to know that if you exceed so many hours, you should probably not be working so much.
So in speaking with some of these other communities, it's a salaried employee, and I was salaried at one time in a company, and I worked a lot more than 40 hours. They forced me to just go home sometimes, or to just take some times off because they didn't want me to get burned out. But a salary position doesn't necessarily stop at 40 hours. It's kind of get the job done type of a position. But that's why I think looking to see what getting some examples about how that's being handled. I mean, you don't want to do it so much that you're burning your person out, but yet we don't want to be paying overtime like we have in the past. And I haven't had time to look, except for the conversations I had with Silver Bay, White Lakes, Aurora and stuff in the past. I just know when it got excessive, there was, take some comp time or whatever. There was a little bit of giving back. You can't expect.
How are they accruing comp time?
I don't know. I don't have the details, but I just think that's something we need to look into. And find out something that we can live with. You guys have any input on any of that? Sarah?
The only input that I have, because I know it's important on election years, I don't know if you want to put some verbiage in your contract that gives a lot of overtime in election years, or some compensatory time where they actually, even, because let's say this person, the last two clerks that we've had did not reside in Babbitt, so for them to go home at 1 PM and then to come back for election night was not really in their cards,
Right.
So maybe something stating that during election years that there could be some compensatory time that they could then, earn it at 1.5 comp time, and then therefore they could take off their time.
Okay.
That's a suggestion.
So how about if we how about if we do this? Can we make a motion to have office staff contact some of these other communities that have a salaried, whether it be a salaried clerk treasurer or a salaried city administrator, and kind of get some guidelines, because they probably have that, they've probably figured some of this stuff out. It would give us a baseline for making decisions on, to see what some other communities are doing already,
I would just like to point out, if you're doing interviews on the 30th, typically if you choose someone, you offer them a contract. So it is relatively time sensitive. Because you won't have a meeting before then to review the contract again before you present it to the applicant.
Well, we have a meeting on the 1st, literally the next day.
Well, in the people that interviewed, this contract here is a little different, isn't it, than the one they saw when they were interviewing?
Nobody saw a contract.
Yeah, they just seen a job description.
This is the exact contract that was given to the last, well, I don't know, how many clerks. Just the difference is that the names are removed. That's why there's blank spaces here, and it looks different because it was reprinted without names.
Kathy, you wanted to say something?
I did.
I'm not sure if the council realizes that all of the department heads at one time were salaried. And then they were part of the union contract, 320 supervisor union. And so then at that point, they negotiated overtime for those salary positions also. And so then at that point, the clerk treasurer was the only one that was not overtime. So that's when I negotiated it in part of my contract. And if I can say, I believe he had 30 hours of overtime for the year, so it really wasn't that much. So I would just like you to know the history of that.
Okay, thank you.
And Kathy, just a real quick question, 30 hours was probably like on an election year, that was a bigger year, right?
Exactly.
An average year was maybe like 15, if that, right? It was
very
minimal with you,
Very minimal.
yes.
Well, I understand it's, there's not a lot of time, so it's the 17th today, and we need to know by when to have, but we need,
Well,
I don't think we have enough information to decide on this tonight.
We're interviewing on the 30th, and we have a council meeting on the 1st. So we would, if we chose someone on the 30th, we would decide on the 1st at council meeting, right? Hypothetically.
Unless you decided on the 30th.
Well, couldn't we decide on the 30th, go to the council meeting on the 1st, and at that council meeting, formally hire the person, and then take care of this contract, and present the contract to them when we finally tell them that they've been hired?
Can I refer to the attorney on that? Do you think that's common practice, Joel?
No. I would, I mean,
I think that's why it's on
No.
the agenda today, to hash out the decisions today, so we have a contract in place
Yeah.
today before we do our final interviews.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, this came to you guys on Friday.
Yep.
I thought when we talked earlier, we said that the salary range could go up to $120,000. But that's not budgeted, at this point in time, so we're gonna have to make some sort of a decision as how far or how high we can go.
That's it, yeah, in regards to the salary.
Yeah, because as I recall, during last year's budget session, everything was pretty doggone tight.
Do we have any idea where we're going to start as far as salary goes? Do you recall?
80,000.
The advertised wage range was 80,000 to 120,000.
The previous clerks, I believe was 88 without overtime, like the base salary is 88,000 a year. So that's what would have been budgeted. I mean, you probably added some overtime into that for budget time.
I think if you look at on the applications, at least one of the applications had what they were making right now. And it was like 116. So, and I do believe that candidate is going to be in they are in the top 3. I don't know where you have one that's retired, one that has making that much money, don't know what the other one's making. So we have to find a starting point tonight and throw that on paper. It seems like should be 90 or 90 plus a little bit to me. Like we would, go ahead, Kirsten. Or
I
sorry.
don't think that you necessarily, I mean, you advertise the wage in that range based on experience and qualifications. So, I think it's fair to decide what wage you wanna offer after you decide your applicant. And at that
I
point,
agree.
when you give them the contract, they can come back and say, I'd accept this contract pending, there's that negotiation.
Oh, I agree, if we don't have to have it, if we don't have to have this done tonight, I totally agree, I would rather see that.
Talking wage.
Just wage.
Yes.
We're talking, we want the verbiage 100%. You advertised a range for the wages. So when you choose your applicant based on their qualifications, you can come up with that number. You'll have your budget numbers to see where you're at. And then you can offer that. Now, I just want to refer to the attorney one more time. Joel, when they present a chosen applicant with an application, at that point, that applicant does have the right to negotiate their application with the council. It's a non-union position. It's a new contract being presented to a new employee, at which point there could be a back and forth negotiation.
And I think we need to be prepared for that, because I think it's coming.
Sure.
Yep.
But
So-
I think the details and the verbiage of the basic contract need to be ironed out now.
Okay, so,
Right, which is why it's here.
yes,
And
so with
now
that,
that
with
it's
that being said, as far as the overtime, then, this is a salary job without overtime. That would be my approach to it.
So you wanna
Fine,
take out the
well-
entire section of overtime.
Well, that's just my opinion.
Mhm.
And like John has referred to a couple times, we feel that the wage is kind of in a compensatory level there, and then if we have to, this also may be able to be negotiated a little bit, like you say, Sarah, what about on election years? Unless you guys want to put something in there for election years, for elections right now,
I'm trying
or?
to think, when I worked for the Quad Cities, I got comp time for anything I worked over. I only got comp time. I didn't get overtime and I didn't get overtime comp time. So like I didn't get 1.5 hours. I just got straight hour for hour. Anything I worked over I can't remember even how many hours. I was like 35 hours a week, I think. So anything I worked over that, I got straight time as comp time. I did not get reimbursed for that.
Now that you said that, I do believe.
But that was like for the Quad Cities, so I don't know
believe
if that
Silver Bay's,
changed.
that sounds familiar to when I talked to the,
See, but this was also like almost 100 years ago,
oh, well,
so I don't know if the laws have changed. Well, I brought Kirsten to work with me, so it would have been 20 plus years ago. So, I don't know if the laws have changed regarding that for government entities. Joel, do you know if it has?
No, I mean, so if you're hiring for a clerk treasurer position, I would say that the standard is that they are non-exempt.
Mhm.
So avoiding the term salaried or non-salaried.
Mhm.
That position, which wouldn't typically qualify for administrative exemption, would be non-exempt, meaning they're eligible for overtime.
Mhm.
If it's a city administrator or manager position, that might fall more under the exempt description, but it depends on what you're hiring for. The Fair Labor Standards Act has some factors that they look at to determine whether they're eligible or not. So,
is that in a union position or a non-union position? I mean, is that,
that doesn't matter. What matters
where's the
is
standard coming from, I guess is what I'm asking. What
the
is it?
federal government. The Fair Labor Standards Act
Okay,
that sets who's an exempt and who's a non-exempt employee.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not, I'm not prepared to provide specific analysis on whether or not this position could qualify as exempt. I would need to, I think, know more information about that and consult the law specifically to make sure that you could, in fact, present that as an exempt position.
I thought we could present it as an exempt position,
Based on,
being, well, as you mentioned, they would be like the manager of the city.
Well, that's a specific title
Right.
that functions as
Got
a
it.
city manager. That's usually a larger city that has a specific position.
Mhm.
It depends on the type of work that's being done is what they look at.
You know, we've talked before about hiring somebody brand new coming in and paying them the same rate as the outgoing city clerk treasurer with multi-years of experience. So how are you gonna work that? If you do with a non-exempt, you can hire them at lesser and then pay them the overtime. But, and you know, it was said right at this council meeting, several people have mentioned it, that when you hire somebody and compare their salary to somebody who's worked here for 20 years, how do they stand up and stack up to that person's salary that just left? So you've got to consider that because that has been mentioned here. And if you go to a non-exempt, you can probably hire at a little bit less and give them the overtime. But that's a problem because some people are going to want a high salary. So we have to deal with that, guys.
So right now, the question is, do we do, well, we don't know yet though, right? We can't say if it's non-exempt or exempt.
Well, I'm hearing from Joel that it has to be non-exempt, right, Joel?
I'm not making a blanket statement that it's always non-exempt because it depends on the specific function. And I just don't know enough about that area of the law to answer that without researching it further.
So we can't decide on that then right now?
But it says in the contract here, the general office hours are 7:30 to 4:30. Well, what happens when you have meetings or functions out of town and so on and so forth? There you're almost bound to either roll that overtime into their salary or pay them overtime.
I do know that in the past, there was a PUC superintendent contract with the union, and it did state that this compensation includes 5 hours of built-in overtime per pay period.
That was with Kurt. That was a special
Correct.
contract that they had with him. Is that still in effect?
Well, no, but it's not, and when Kurt left, there was a letter of understanding and then it was changed. But is that something that could be written into this contract? This isn't a union contract, but could you roll in overtime to that contract?
I thought, like, the last councils were really against keeping that going forward for the new, for any new position after that, it sunsetted with Kurt.
Yes.
So I don't, yeah, I see what you're saying.
It did, but
right.
if we're talking the difference between the compensation that you advertise to offer, so now we have these outstanding candidates who think they might be coming in and getting $120,000 a year, but then you offer them 90 with no overtime.
Was it,
We're at
was
square one.
overtime advertised?
No, the
No.
position was advertised as exempt.
Okay.
Per the job description.
Okay. So we should be good then, as far as that goes,
I would like
pending
pending
Joel's.
the law.
analysis. Mhm.
The job description is not a legal binding contract, right? So this is,
Mhm.
so.
Right.
Well, maybe just table it and think about it a little bit. Unless we have to have it.
Well, I mean, we can't hire someone, we can determine who we would like to hire on June 30th. We can't hire anyone until council meeting. We could adopt a contract prior to making our recommendation to hire, and then present the contract to the person we choose to hire.
You can choose to hire the 30th because the meeting would be posted as a special meeting where you can make those decisions.
I guess it's one more day.
I have a suggestion. After we have our hiring meeting, let's just schedule a study session right after the meeting to talk about the contract. Maybe we can have some sort of agreement ready for the next council meeting. If you have a study session, you're not taking any action, but you are coming to a tentative agreement that we could act on the next day.
I'm okay with that. It's only one day.
One day delay, what we'll have somebody in mind that we're gonna hire.
Information from other communities.
So I don't know, it's up to you guys. We can do it.
Yeah, we're not getting anywhere right now.
Sure, so at the interview meeting, which is gonna be posted as a special meeting, after you interview everybody, we'll have a discussion, choose who you would like to hire, and then go over the contract as to what you would like to offer them, and then on Tuesday at the meeting, you'll make the motion to hire XYZ based on this contract, and at that point, we would contact the person. Joel, I referred to Joel on this, and he said that's not
No?
normal practice. I mean, if we meet, discuss, we interview, discuss, choose, and we just sit on it for a day?
My advice would be to avoid giving a contract to a prospective hire and stating that it's pending council review or something like that.
Right.
Right.
What you present needs to be your offer to them. If it's
Right.
negotiated, that's one thing, but and also I don't think you want to have anyone start under an informal or oral
No.
agreement
Well,
of
we
what the
would-
contract's gonna be.
Right.
No.
We wouldn't decide the 30th. We would decide the 1st. And then after the council meeting,
Sure.
have them present it, have the offer presented.
Okay.
Right?
To interview on Monday,
Right.
and
Decide
then no
on-
action after the interview.
Decide the next day on Tuesday. I mean, we can discuss on Monday. And like Jim said, we can tentatively. Right?
Could we do a conference call on this first, or whatever date it is? So confused with dates now.
Conference call for what?
For hiring,
Well, we'd have the council meeting. So it would be,
right, but we still need to negotiate a salary.
right, well, all candidates, they're all different,
Correct.
like offhand, I wouldn't even think some of them are the same,
No,
you know. Well, what are you saying?
no, I think
Do you
we
want to
need,
be able to hire someone on June 30th after the interviews and then
no,
discussions?
but my wonder is, when do we negotiate their salary? If we're not finishing the contract until the 30th or the 1st?
The first,
After we contact them?
On the-
no, you have to present them with a wage when you're offering them a job,
Yeah,
which would be in the contract after you decide the contract.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
After we decide who it is, we'll have to present them with a
And then if
contract.
they choose to negotiate the contract, we would have to schedule a special meeting from there for contract negotiations prior to them starting.
And they would have to more than likely give a 2-week notice anyway. So we would have pick on the 1st, then it's a holiday week. Probably have pick on the 1st presented. What if there's negotiations going on? So then we have to have another special meeting. Right? Say they don't accept our offer, the first offer. We have to probably allocate some sort of if this, then that type of agreement. Otherwise, we can have meetings upon meetings, special meetings, if there's only one, you know.
Well, let's hope we hire somebody, we get somebody first pick, and we talk to them, and on the 1st, they agree to the contract.
You also have the option to, when you select a person, like when I was hired, for example, the minutes read, motion by so-and-so to hire Kirsten. If she declines, then the offer would get presented to so-and-so. So you can have a backup or an XYZ if they counter, if they decline, negotiate up to some point and then rescind and not
So
rescind.
what you're saying is we need to know who number two is going to be in case negotiation doesn't work out.
Ideally, yeah.
Either way, there has to be a contract presented to the applicant when you choose them.
Mhm.
And if you choose it, all of our meetings are on public forums, so I would like to just assume that all the candidates are going to watch. Um, I mean, the interviews are not. But then the meeting on Tuesday, I mean, it's a tough one. I feel like because it's all, a lot of changes are being made.
Well, that's why I go back to let's set up an interview session like we have scheduled. Let's adjourn that and go into a study session and talk it over and see if we can come to a consensus on the salary and who we're thinking of hiring and get our 1, 2, 3 picks. And then we would have it ready for the first.
Instead of adjourning and study sessioning, could we get the job description and contract to Joel? After interviews, schedule it as an agenda line item to review and determine contract. Someone makes a motion to accept the contract, at which point you then have your next agenda item, hire so-and-so with presenting contract. That's assuming Joel will be able to look it over by the 30th.
So have a meeting,
Special
The
meeting.
the public meet, well, to interview and everything like that. Adjourn that,
Nope, you just keep it open.
keep it open.
Interview, next line item,
Uh-huh.
review contract.
Okay.
And then decide on a contract, next line item, offer so-and-so.
Very similar to how we did the first set of interviews. There was the interviews, interview, and then it was action, if any,
Yeah.
the line item on the agenda for that special meeting.
It's pretty much what I was saying, Kirsten, except we
Just
can't the
action.
study session. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Just
in
keep it
agreement.
all
Yeah, that's
under a
fine.
special meeting.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay,
So one other item
okay.
on the,
I just see a typo.
Okay. Oh. Do you see the typo?
I see a couple, to be fair, I typed it on Friday as I was already late leaving the office and yes, I've noticed a couple and highlighted them.
Okay. so,
Well, actually, it's pretty true though, you know what? The first one is.
Number 10, termination and resignations. City shall discipline for just cause. Do we have to be just cause or can we be at will? Is that in the law as well?
It's just cause city clerk and treasurer positions have a property right interest in the employment. So
Because
there's a process for doing that. And yeah,
Because we had the way it was understood before by some of the counselors, we went through this before and it was like, oh, we're at will, and then we weren't, so. After
that's my
probation,
understanding.
so. And then the other thing, and I guess that will come into the negotiation that I would assume we'll run into is in there, when it talks about, back to number 6, compensation effective this date of 2025 shall pay said person for their services, clerk treasurer, bi-weekly, gross salary, 90% starting wage. And then in 2026, at that same date, a year later, it'll go to 100%. That also could be part of our negotiation. Right? Just so we understand that might be a leverage point that pushes it into the direction or over. So I don't know.
That's negotiable.
I don't know if it is.
It
I
was.
know
I thought it
that
was. Wasn't it?
well, the employees we have here, this is why I'm bringing it up.
Mhm.
Because we've had
Let's
employees that
remember
haven't been
this
able
is a
to.
public forum and our applicants are probably watching and getting this advice.
Where else are we supposed to discuss this?
Yep.
You know, how do we do it?
Maybe not bring up the negotiation points of the contract agreement.
And I believe it was council action that made it 90%, so we might need to go back and look at that motion. Because it was a council action that everybody hired was at 90%. So might need to
Is that-
Yeah, it
Before
wasn't
my time.
unique just to this position. I think we did it across the board for every hire.
It's in the personnel policy at 80%, and then the council motion to up it to 90.
And the union contracts actually state 90. The current union contracts both say that.
Okay, anything else, Lynn?
No.
Jim, do you have anything?
Nope.
John?
No,
Okay, all right. Let me get right to the right page here now. Ordinance, right, yeah, ordinance number 275, amending ordinance number 137 to rezone parcels 105, 0080000400 and 105, 0080000350.
You guys made a motion to do this at the last meeting, this is just the ordinance amendment.
These are those 240s south of the golf course that were in rezone for the green mining.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the change.
Motion by Fitzpatrick, do we have a second?
Yes.
Second by Lassie, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Lossing,
Yes,
White, absent, Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Kathy Hoheisel, Dog Park.
Hello again. So I'm here to seek permission to utilize the land north of the bike trail for the dog park. And the reason I'm looking at getting that now is because I called IRRB and they will have a culture and tourism grant applications open on July 1st. I'd like to start the grant process, so I can't really do that if we don't have a spot.
And north of the bike trail
Yes,
with, like where?
to the left when you're.
Are you talking about that, where Corpus
It's-
Instead, that?
Yeah, it's
section?
at 6.45 acres, oops, excuse me, but it's, you know, if you're around the it's to the left, so I don't think.
Yeah, no, I just want to clarify like where it is, because the bike trail is from the golf course.
It's right at the very beginning.
I just have a quick question, Kathy. Are you like a private entity would own the dog park and you would lease the land? Are you looking for a city-run dog park and the city would apply for the culture and tourism grant for the dog park?
That was another question also, because it could be a 501c3 group, or it could be the city that applied for the grant. I'm thinking probably the city.
Okay, I think,
Have you talked to Caitlin about this? Because is she planning on using that portion as an alternate site for the Frisbee golf course is what I'm wondering?
The land that I'm talking about,
Is it the same piece?
I don't have a clue.
I haven't heard that come up.
I
at a
know
rec meeting.
we approved that, the Frisbee golf course on that portion of that land, which is, did you say across?
I thought that was on the north side of the highway,
Okay,
but I could be wrong. But that's how I understood it, that it was on the north side of the
yep,
highway.
I just wanna clarify if this is
Yeah.
gonna be recreation driven, and if it is, we need to work closely with our recreation department, and if it's gonna be 501c3 driven, then it's kind of a separate deal.
I'm hoping that it would be the city,
Okay,
and, you know, I will be happy to work with Caitlin.
and by the city then, do you mean, rec is responsible for all the cleanup and maintenance and all that kind of stuff? And getting the grants, just confirming.
That's why I'm here. I don't think that the rec should have to clean up any dog doodle.
Mhm.
Maybe mow.
So what do you think the expectation of what that, so let's say that area north of the bike trail, it kind of cuts in there at an angle, as you know, when it goes out and meets the gravel trail.
It's not gonna go across the highway at all.
Huh?
It
Excuse-
won't go across the highway when it's.
No. But when you say mowing, do you have expectations of clear cutting it or leaving trees, or I mean, what, and then?
Yeah, we'll have to.
Can I have my entourage come up here?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, is there?
I guess-
gonna be
I guess
any clearing of the
Just
land?
wondering what that might look like or
So like
entail.
I know where it is.
There will be clearing and brushing done.
I guess it wasn't really talked about, and I haven't really presented it to our club yet, but, I'm sure that, there will be some support, and I didn't realize we were gonna clear cut, I thought we were just gonna brush.
Well, that's kind of what that's how I seen it, but then, because if you brush, you won't, well, you probably would have to get in there with weed whack, in order to make that property right there mowable, because there's gonna be a lot of rocks. So I foresee that you probably would go in there and cut the brush out, leave some huge trees, and and maybe go in and have it weed whacked every now and then or something like that, depending on how big do you have an idea how big this section would be that you would be looking at?
No, because that's another one of our requests is to take the fencing off the auction block so we can utilize the West Babbitt softball complex fencing.
I didn't realize it was on the auction.
That's what I'm understanding, that it's
Um,
gonna be put on the auction.
Yeah, it was discussed a while ago.
Okay.
But yeah,
I talked to Tony about that the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact, and he didn't have any problem if we remove it off of the auction block, because we're not gonna get a lot of money for that anyway.
right.
And you would have enough fencing there to make one heck of a big dog park, and then even if there's additional fencing, you could run right down the middle if you wanted to get the big dogs separate from little dogs. So I'm all in favor of getting you guys
Right.
the fencing and letting you put it up and take care of whatever brushing you need. And the other thing I'm gonna propose a little bit later on would be to rezone that thing back to what it was originally, CD, and keep it for non-development. I think that would fit into your dog park quite well.
Right.
And I think would satisfy the neighbors, because their main thrust is they don't want development there. So if we have a little bit of a dog park, that's not going to interfere with anybody. So
So-
those are my proposals, Kathy.
I've got two questions. Where would you park? Where would people park?
Well, most of the time right now, when people go and walk their dogs on the trail, they're parking right at the very beginning of the old reserve road. So I'm hoping that we can still do that.
Okay, and are there any other plans for that area at all right now? Like, has the rec department talked about anything for that area?
The only thing that I'm thinking is the Frisbee golf course, but I know that was mapped out and laid out, I just don't have it in front of me. And that was approved by council, so.
Think that was a separate parcel?
The ones where the wells are?
It has nothing to do with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because this is the one right off Cherry, correct? The 6.45 acres.
Mhm.
I believe the Frisbee golf one was across the street, but I'm not.
That makes sense to me, because there was
Yeah.
the easement and everything that went
I
with that.
do know that Caitlin has just ordered signs and the gate for the trial run in the outdoor rink. And I know that she had planned to remove the fencing from the auction and save it for a permanent dog park solution once she determines how the trial run goes here and then explores other land options.
Okay, how fast are you thinking about doing this?
Do the project? I don't think it will be this year.
Okay, so the trial then could be over here. This would be faster, right? Like right
That's
there.
already been approved to
Yep.
do the trial there.
Yep, so that'd be there, and then if this other section is approved, then you have that much time to work on it and clear
Right,
it.
but July 1st is when that grant opens up,
Mhm.
and that's up to $30,000, so.
And what would you use the money for? I mean, specifically, what would it go for?
We haven't sat down yet, we wanna make sure we have the land and the fencing, and then we're gonna,
Benches,
yep, pretty much that.
those little stands, no water,
Okay.
maybe clearing for more parking even? Cause that road, I mean, if you park.
Yeah, well, the road would provide ample parking for a long time. I
'Cause I don't
can't
think we could have a
imagine.
lot of people at one time
No, you're
there.
not going to have a lot
You
of
know.
people on one or two or three at a time
Yeah.
like that. So,
Splash pad.
It is.
plus dogs, and they're only allowed 3 dogs, so.
Is there a limit on how many dogs you can have in one?
No,
Okay.
Yes, there's a
At your
limit on how many
house.
dogs
At your
each
house.
person can have at their residence. 3 dog limit in town, which nobody obeys.
I thought it was two.
We changed it. We changed it due to popular demand.
Okay. Okay, so you're gonna do the outdoor rink
This
this year, and if pending approval then for out over there, and then the grant opens up July 1st?
Yep.
Applications. And when would they be funded?
I think October.
Then I think maybe put on the agenda at the next meeting, that we will make a commitment to give you that fencing.
Okay.
I don't think we
Well,
can
we
do it
can do
now,
that.
because, can we do it now? Because it's not on the agenda as such.
It was in her.
It's in my request.
It's in her request.
Oh, well, then I'm gonna make a motion that we set aside the fencing from the softball field to be used for the dog park.
Okay. Motion by Lassie, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Fitzpatrick, any discussion?
Is this motion just about the fencing or is it
Yep.
about the property
Just
as
about
well?
the
Okay.
fencing.
Just the fencing for
Okay.
now.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Those are matching grants from the, IRRB, right?
I'm not sure,
They usually
they
are.
usually are, but the culture and tourism might be something different.
Last time it was.
And
I think it's matching because that's what we did when we got the rock and all that was matching.
Yeah, it
And we
was,
were able
yeah.
to use the,
She just got some like for the skateboard park that was matching. That was the same thing, culture and tourism
Mhm.
and some other things in town.
so we can use the fencing as match.
You gotta figure out a way with Tony how to get them out. I don't know. We didn't talk about who's gonna take the fencing out.
Jim,
I actually talked to Joe Shear and was asking him how hard that was to take out. And he didn't think it was gonna be that
yeah, we
difficult.
can talk about it.
Yeah.
Because in the West Babbitt development, Tony had said, yeah, it won't be a problem to pop them out.
So I have
Yeah.
confirmation because of the West Babbitt, Jason can't put out for bids until that stuff is removed. I talked to Tony, both the building and the fencing will be removed.
After Peter Mitchell.
Yep, before they put out, before SEH puts out for bids for West Babbitt, so.
That's a building? Would you want a building? Would you need a building?
Do I want a building?
From
Yeah, you
the
want a building?
property.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
We just have the fencing on here, so that's all we can act on right now is the
Yeah.
fencing. We can act on the building on July 1st.
in case of rain, you can use the building.
You know, but think about it, like there could be dog classes offered there, training.
Yeah.
Or like some sort of grooming or whatever. You can use the building for that kind of stuff.
Well, see what your group can come up with.
I've already come up with a Halloween plan. We're gonna have dog costume. And it's gonna be called Howlween.
What?
Towel.
Oh, my
Sorry.
goodness.
That's cute. Okay,
So,
You have a gavel for a reason, Mayor.
we're totally over there. And then let's use it when my husband's here.
so what about the land then? What do
So much
you wanna
more.
do with that?
Well, I think, like I said, I think what we should do is, let me run this by the planning commission at our first meeting in July. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get you that land. I don't see any other use for it. And I think this is great use for it, and should be plenty of land for dogs.
And then.
Have you walked that area? Is it low?
Mike has,
Great.
Greg walked it.
Closer to where the dirt path is that goes out to the highway. It's pretty steep there, but right adjacent to going out of town on the Blacktop Road,
It's okay?
pretty high down there.
Right.
And so you don't have to have, the baseball field outline.
Mhm.
You could have,
Yeah, you can do whatever you
just
want.
kind of go around the higher.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
it's a dog park, up and down, around trees.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jeez,
Okay.
hide and seek.
Okay, so, permission was to use land north of the bike trail, permission to remove the softball complex, we've done that, permission to use fencing.
I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at your proposal.
Yeah, so really, we can't really act on the land until the next meeting, so.
Okay, and then the clarification, I got one more thing on the very bottom, number 4, I think. Just a clarification that it'd be a recreation project.
I think you would probably be able to you'd have more access to grant possibilities if you were a 501c3 versus if the city had to do it.
So that's why I'm here we'll do whatever.
And it wouldn't take away other opportunities for the city.
Yeah.
It wouldn't,
Yeah.
if they did it.
Right.
It would also leave more opportunity for the city going further with their own projects. If you would be a separate ask from the IRRB in case Caitlin has reasons for applying again for some of the projects that she has going on.
And that's all fine and dandy. Then it's still the city's land and it's still the city's park and
Mhm.
so if you,
You could use that stuff as in kind for which applies for the
so
grant.
if that's your,
I would prefer that myself. I
can
think
we use the Friends of the Recreation for that?
you could ask this Friends of the Recreation.
You're on there, right? You're on there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Okay, all right, thank you,
Okay.
Kathy.
All right, thank you.
Okay, E, Audrey Kalinowski, lease of land.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, live map. I'm here to represent the Northwood Saddle Club. I'm the secretary, and it's actually to approach ballot and see if you guys would be able to possibly lease us some land. We're looking to possibly relocate.
Okay, what, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what group you were with?
Northwood Saddle Club, out of Embarrassed.
Not Northwoods
Northwood
Saddle
Saddle
Club.
Club.
Saddle? Oh, okay, sorry.
This is just kind of a rough idea. Figured I would hand this off to
Is this
you
to take, where the structure is out there in Bears Fair?
That is our, they own the property, we own everything else.
Okay,
So all the,
but that would still say, this is above and beyond that? You're looking.
no, we were asked to leave.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is kind of my guide for, we're looking to maybe possibly move here if this parcel is available. And we would erect snow fence to make sure any loose horses stayed off of the golf course and didn't run to the highway. The Fair Board asked for a meeting this spring, and we were presented with 2 options. This is the stuff we received, you can read. So this is the hard copy here. If you guys want to read this. We were made an offer of $1,500 for all of our staff.
So where are you right now?
We're up
Bears-
at the Timber
Bears
Hall.
Fair.
Oh, okay.
So how it works, the Mayor's Fair owns the property in the Timber Hall. The Saddle Club owns all of the panels, the concession stand, the announcer stand, the equipment, the barrels, the poles.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
picturing it
And
now.
it's been a mutual agreement for years.
Mhm.
They are going in a different direction. We looked at putting up a new arena. There was an arena committee formed. We were part of it. We discussed new structure and everything. It's like, yep, that sounds great. We'd love to do this. Let us know when we get the stuff. We'll get our stuff out of the way so we can start the new construction, new land, getting everything set up. Something must have happened and they didn't get funding. So they want to buy it from us. Or we can leave.
They want to buy the stuff from you,
Yes, for $1,500.
or you just leave
Or we are asked to
with
leave.
nothing, or all that stuff?
Well, that is our stuff, that is our property, and
Right.
it's been a mutual exchange. It's their land, our property, we use the property, they use the arena. And any events they host, it's never a problem. Damage something, they replace it. We take care of the maintenance, the mowing, and all that. To give you an idea, we have 55 panels. Right now, to replace that, they're $125 a piece without tax. So that's like $6,875 just for the big Alfred panels. There's 6 gates at $139.99. And that would be a replacement cost of $839. Doesn't include any of the wood, the posts, the T-posts, the construction materials for the announcer stand, or the concession stand.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of money sitting right
Right.
there.
So,
We aren't interested in selling, we would like to relocate.
right. Were there any other areas that you were looking at?
Yes, we talked to Embarrass Township, and years ago, there was a possibility of moving across the road. But they have that area designated for camping during the fair, so they really don't want to give that up or cause a conflict. So it's like, okay, that's understandable, we kind of figured that would be. There was 2 of the private landowners that had in the past said, yeah, we could probably work something out. They do not own that land anymore, so we thought, well, let's try that, see if they have anything available, and come and see what you guys could do.
How many members?
We average between 30 to 60 members.
How many events per year?
We do, let's see, 5.
5 events?
And then we have 5 shows. We have one in June, July, August, June, July, August, and then 2 in September.
What kind of participation at events? That I know probably Embarrassed Fair is your biggest event, right?
Yep.
So do you guys do the team penning? Is that
That's
that's
all,
not
that's it. The Embarrassed Fair
Okay.
show is hosted by the Embarrassed Fair.
okay?
They run that, and they get all the proceeds from that. Team Penny is hosted by and owned by the Embarrassed Fair, and they run that and
Okay.
get all the
So
proceeds.
so your 5 events, how are they what's the participation look like? Just wondering how many people this brings to our town.
Right now, we are bringing in around 40 to 50 riders,
Okay?
and that means family members that
And
come.
yeah, right. So you could probably
plus
double that at least. Yes.
So I would say we have at least 80 people or more, depending on what else is going out there.
What made you pick that area?
It hasn't been used for many years, and I was thinking you guys had some of this stuff by the ball field possibly zoned, so like that might not be a good idea. It's also really flat, kind of away from town, so, you know, all the dust and that.
Mhm.
It's got lots of shade. It gets really hot when you're on a horse all day.
Currently, that is actually zoned residential, and that's part of phase 3 of our
Okay.
West Babbit edition. I mean, it's taken how long to get phase 1 done, so.
Everything
Yeah.
is mobile, I mean,
Uh-huh.
it could be a short-term lease, 5, 10 years, whatever you would like to do.
What are you proposing for a lease? Have you thought about that?
We don't make a whole lot of money, we're looking at maybe $500 a year, because we run with $4,000, that covers everything that we do for our insurance and the ribbons, the tilling, the porta potties that we provide for ourselves and all that. It covers all of the expenses, and we pretty much put out what we make in every year. And we're crunching numbers, and we figured we could probably safely do 500 without putting ourselves in a hole, without having to raise our costs either. We want to keep it cheap. It's $5 for you to ride all day, one horse. We are really cheap. We're very family oriented. kids come there, they get bucked off, a horse does something silly, it runs out of the arena, or it had oh, hey, do you want another ride? Yeah, we'll take another ride. It's a good, quiet, laid back family day.
Okay, so you have 4 to 5 events per year, and then you have in general riding?
Yes, the open riding, so far, it's always been open riding for whenever anybody wanted to come up and practice. We carry insurance, I brought the insurance form, if anybody wants to see it, and the Bear Spear is always second insured, so there's a double policy there. And that would transfer because we don't own the land, so that's how they work it out.
And I'd say, just because I drive by there every single day at prime time,
Yes,
there's 50% of the time, there's probably somebody there.
and we do all the
Maybe
mowing,
not quite that much, but it gets used quite a bit.
and we do the mowing around the arena, the weed whacking. We have 2 porta potties that we maintain, and Boundary Waters comes and pumps for us. And we're like, well, there's no water out there, but we figured we can get the big white containers. I also heard you guys can, you can get a permit to put a point down and run a generator for our shows if you wanted to do that. It's a possibility.
For Sandpoint.
Yeah, Sandpoint, and there's,
So doesn't the fire department, don't they do fills once in a while? Or was that in the olden days?
Do they do what?
Fire department, do you recall?
Do what?
Like water, they'll dump water, like in a pool or something.
Oh, they can, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they can.
Yeah.
and then we police the grounds, we clean up, take our garbage, and people are there. We pretty much are using it from May to the end of September is when our busiest is.
And where would you,
after that.
where would you drive in?
I was thinking the road, let's see here. The Conservation Club Road,
Okay.
like where you go back to the,
Right past that grove where the tree line ends, probably entering right there.
yeah, well, right across from 21 there by the Dollar General.
Right, you go down there and then run to the
end.
end of the tree where the
Yeah.
trees end and then come in right there.
Coming right
So-
there.
I think,
I think that's, it looks level. I've never walked it, but I mean, it looks level and so it's cleaned off.
so, we got a representative from the golf course here today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And,
planning and zoning, I was
yeah,
gonna ask
and,
about that.
I was just waiting for you guys to get to me.
yeah.
But, okay, first of all, this does involve land use, and while it's okay to inform the council about this, I think properly, it should go to the planning commission for study, as they are the ones who are in charge of land use.
Okay,
We also on the golf course, we're looking for clubhouse relocation, which would be just north of that. Our clubhouse is 70 years old, so we are going to seek grants and see if we can do something there. And that would be just off of number 2 tee box, which is that green area. But, so there is down the road, maybe 5 years or so,
okay.
a potential use for that. But getting back to what I said, usually the planning commission is in charge of land use, and they should probably be the first ones to study this
Okay.
and come back to the council with a recommendation.
I wasn't sure how many acreages to put, because you can kind of see up there, we're just at one end, and we usually go back to about where the Kwanzaa buildings are right there. And that's pretty much all the room we need. So this is just kind of a rough idea.
What's your time frame? When did they tell you they wanted?
End of September.
Oh, okay.
So we have room,
Oh, yeah.
and we'd like to, if possible, maybe get this rolling so we could start getting the land prepped in September.
We'll have our regular meeting on July 3rd, I think, what is it?
Yeah.
July 3rd,
What time?
9 in the morning,
Oh, that's good.
and,
I have a parade in the evening.
and I can put you on the agenda.
I would love that, yes.
All right, I'll put you on the agenda. If you have a couple other maps, write them, copy, and we'll talk about it and run it to the planning commission.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Is that right here, this right here?
Right here.
And you want this or? are you-
I've got them out. I
Oh,
can run
okay.
them off to the planning commission.
Okay.
Right, and that's all you do is tell the third.
Mhm.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you
Okay.
for
Thank you.
coming in. Okay, oh boy, this was a So, I wanted the comprehensive plan put on.
Okay, well, I think that we moved the Kirby's offer to this area.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, sorry, I didn't write that down. Yeah, no, I'm trying to figure this out too. Where did we move?
I thought that Jim said he wanted to talk
Yeah.
about it when we started talking about the dog park.
Yeah, I guess
So,
that's.
Oh,
and we
okay,
sort of
I
into
didn't
the
have that
land
in there.
Sort of
area
lost
discussion.
Okay, we'll go back to that then, 10D.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, go ahead.
Well, Gary, do you want to start? What do you have in mind?
Oh, I just amended my proposal there because the city was not gonna use, that, lose the bike trail and the snow machine trail. But being they still had the other, is approximately a little less than 3 acres. I'd be willing to purchase that and just leave it as a conservatory for now, that's fine with me. I guess what I'm looking at is basically a little preventive maintenance, let's say. Because you people are only served for so long, and somebody may come along after the next election and want to put some other industry in there. I just thought if we could just prevent that now and preserve that 3 acres that's left.
Do you have did you draw like a preliminary map of what you'd like?
No,
Like,
just-
you know,
I could probably draw it on that whiteboard if you'd like.
yeah,
I do have an
yeah,
idea
I'm
what
just
he's
trying to
talking
figure out.
about.
Cause like, I know the
yeah.
dog park is X amount of
So
space.
if we, this is Central Boulevard up to the stop sign. This is the dog park that goes back in here. This would be the old Birch Lake Road right here. It meets the dog park right in here. Look. So this is the beginning of the hike and bike and right here. So this is where they're talking about a dog park right here is on the north side of this trail. This is the old Birch Lake Road right here. It's gravel right now and it's used as a departure out of town for ATV, snowmobiles, everything. Everybody comes down this road here, gets on here. What Gary's talking about is on this side, which would be on the east side of the old Reserve Road, a section right about here, right, Gary?
Yes, but
Yeah,
it should be about
so
3 acres.
Gary's house is in the corner here, which puts him right straight on line with this here. So he's looking at an area right in this area, some here.
So your
Right in this area.
road, it doesn't go straight, it goes like, yeah, it's more, so he's just looking at, where is he? He's right here, right?
Yeah,
Oh, he's over here, okay,
right,
yeah.
right there.
And so
Yeah.
this whole section is like 6.45. So he's asking, yeah, so he's
Yeah, come
asking
up
for
there.
2 acres,
Yeah.
right?
Back come up here.
So you're asking for 2 acres, so do we know like what is in that 2 acres, like where that?
At the lower.
As far as, what does it look like to me?
Yeah,
It's just kind of flat right there,
No,
then it
I
goes
mean,
down
like,
on the backside.
the
of it.
section, so you're saying from here down, like, is it like here, is it like here?
Oh,
Like,
how is
what
the 2
equals-
acres shaped is what
because-
you're saying,
Yeah,
yes.
this whole thing is 6.45.
Right.
Like, if this is 4, then this would be 2.45. See what I'm saying? So like, I'm just asking like, what?
Yeah, I don't know how it's shaped, actually.
Yes, right there, this.
Yes,
this
I
is
know,
the
yeah, I know where it's at, but did you like map it out as to like, what was, like, where did you come up with the number of 2 acres?
Well, you had 6.45 acres there, and I took that, I think it's 3 acres, and it's about 2.75, I think, it's about 3 acres.
Yeah, I don't know, did you like measure it out or,
No,
okay,
just off the map here, just right by the picture.
okay.
'Cause
So
that's
you want
what
this
that-
whole corner then? Yeah, or triangle? See right here?
If the city wants to sell it, then, otherwise, I don't care, just.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get a grasp
I'd
on
buy
what,
that, just,
what,
yeah, that was my offer for the remainder
Mhm.
at 3 acres approximately. And the road, and, I wouldn't mess with the road for Richie, and we already
Mhm.
talked about it, and for all the people in Cherry and all that. Well, I mean, that's city anyway, they'd have to give the easement or something, I suppose, I don't know.
yeah, it all depends on what happens with the road and if there's city sewer and water out there and who's maintaining it and it would be a matter of easements, or if someone purchased the road, then it would be up to them to maintain the road, so. Mhm.
But yeah, it's that parcel there that I'd be interested in buying. Just to basically preserve that too. And to be honest, some point down the road, like I talked to Jim there, if I ever did want to build a storage building or something like that, right across from my house, 24 by 30 or something. But as I told him, I'm 79 years old, and I probably most likely won't be building too much anyway, so I really don't think that would be a reality.
So if you can stay up here, if he owned this area, you said people go down here in four-wheel and they go up that way?
Yeah.
So they would be going along the north side of that property, right?
Yeah, it would be like the west side of that property.
Of this property.
Yeah, because this road right here goes north and south, I think, kind of.
North and south is this way, it's
Oh.
on an angle.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, nope, I'm just trying to figure out where exactly it is. So Joel, if we, like the road that's vacated, that no one, you think the city owns it, right? We don't know.
The county said they vacated, I talked to the county.
If you were asking me if I thought it was appropriate to have planning and zoning review the proposal, my answer was yes.
Perfect, review it and let us know, Jim.
Well, you know what, we need stuff to do.
I think that's the kind of the appropriate thing that would come up from that type of review, and then we could address that in kind regarding regarding that aspect, so.
Right.
Because first, we have to rezone it back to CD.
Yeah.
That's step number one. And then designate an area for the dog park, and then consider Gary's request.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's what I would recommend as learned attorney has advised.
One step at a time.
Right, yeah, no, like, agree, and I think the road is an unknown, and, like, am I right though, Joel? If Richie owns the road, he's responsible for the road, right? Hypothetically, not like,
I'm gonna refrain from answering hypotheticals
Okay.
that would have potential real world implications for the answer.
So because he said he would be interested in buying or having an easement, but what you're thinking is then we would get out of the responsibility for maintaining.
well,
it,
yeah,
right?
no, I'm not, I don't, I'm not talking about any responsibility. I mean, he mentioned he wanted to buy it at one time, but then if there's an easement there to get back there, who actually owns the road? So whoever owns that road would be responsible for maintaining that road, and who all is using that road.
Right.
Because he wants that as an easement to his back development.
Right.
So it'll be almost like a regular city road.
Yeah.
Street,
And it's
and it would need to be
It's used-
paved and.
right, it's used by the people
plowed.
that access their backyards on Cherry, but yeah, so.
I think the city owns that now after the county, I couldn't get a firm answer.
I think it's a gray area because
Yeah,
Reserve or Masabi, I think was it Masabi Trust gave it.
and the less said
It's
about that, the better off we'll be. Just let it go as the way it is, because nobody knows, and nobody gives a rip. Just let it go,
So,
And,
so no decisions today, we got.
I think we gotta take it back to the planning commission, or not.
So when did you say that is the July?
Well, it'll be the third,
July
our regular meeting. We have a special meeting, but that's only for public hearing.
July 3rd, 9 in the morning.
Yeah. Get up early, bring your coffee. Or a Bloody Mary, I don't care.
This
Don't
holiday.
bring the coffee, you bring the donuts.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Okay, now where am I? Did you have something else you wanted to talk about?
No. I like it when you skip to the end of the agenda though, before.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I guess I'm on comprehensive plan now. So I'll make it short for the comprehensive plan. Just because I want you guys to have a chance to review it and not review it here. I don't know, the last time that was done, Jim, was you in 2019, wasn't it?
2014.
14.
Yeah.
And I will tell you offhand, I have been involved in all 5 revisions of the comprehensive plans. From the original to this current one, they are a hell of a lot of work.
Oh, I know they are, that's why I'm
And
not
they're very
expecting.
spendy.
Mhm.
And I see why it's on there. We should revise it every now and then. But I guess my problem with revising it right now is we have so much on our plate. You know, we got the West Babbitt, we got a clerk treasurer hire, and I would not want to have a clerk treasurer hire come in and have to deal with the adoption of a comprehensive plan. I'd rather have the clerk treasurer
I don't think,
get their feet on the ground.
right, and I don't think this comprehensive plan would be something that we could do in 2 meetings or anything
Oh,
like that.
it
Oh, yeah.
takes a year or two.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, you do this comprehensive plan, and I know it's also helpful for grants, obtaining various grants and things like that. Has the city always stayed on track with all 5 comprehensive plans? Is this something we should look and maybe make some amendments to instead of changing it entirely?
Well, your comprehensive plan is a guide,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And it's guided us, we know darn well what our needs are for our community. We've got the housing going there, we've got multiple housing. I guess one of the needs that is semi being addressed is multiple housing for seniors. We've never been able to accomplish that, but yet we know we've got to do it.
Mhm.
And as far as the other one is maintaining your streets, your infrastructure, your water, sewer, we're doing that already.
Mhm.
And we have a darn good idea of where we need to go to further Babbitt. And you do have these side things that come in and you deviate from them.
Mhm.
But the big thing is the funding of this. Now, I'm thinking that the last comprehensive plan might have been around 16,000. And we did get funding from IRRB and we went to ARDC. But you're looking at probably $20,000. Because there's a bunch of all-day meetings that are set up, community meetings, community involvements, information sessions, and it's work. And it's time consuming if you're gonna do it right. Because all the figures, the demographics on median income housing, they have to be updated.
Right,
Well, we've already done a housing study, so that's like,
we've done, I think, 2.
sort of lends itself.
Right.
But, yeah, it's worth considering, but I would,
I think it's something that we should consider, not now, not right this second or anything, but like down the line, maybe,
yeah, I would
you
say,
know, October, November.
once we get our feet on the ground a little bit with our new clerk treasurer, get the office running like the clockwork
Well,
that it
and-
always has.
And the financials, that's very big, there's a
Well,
lot of stuff that's screwed up in that,
we
so.
got some issues we're gonna have to deal with. so.
Yeah, no, I agree, it's something I wanted you guys to put on the radar, just to see, because back in 2014, there was probably daycare here in town,
Probably was.
so. Anyways, that was the only reason why I put that on there, throwing it out there and go from
Yeah,
there,
I
so.
mean, it's always good to have, like you said, it's valuable when you wanna go for grants. Because, well, what kind of comprehensive
Well,
plan?
and then if there's any new council members that come on board, they can kind of see the guide.
Yep.
So, okay, thank you.
And there will be a new one for sure.
Okay, we already did the CDBG. Remove Cody Rasmussen from street department casual labor roster. I think must not have worked out, so I guess we just need a motion to remove him.
I'll make a motion to remove Cody Rasmussen from the street department, casual labor.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Lossing. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Lossing,
Yes.
White absent, Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Next council meeting will be held July 1st, 2025 at 5 PM.
July 1st.
July 1st. Do we have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Lassie to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Second by Fitzpatrick. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. So now we'll roll right into the EDA. Call the EDA meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Fitzpatrick,
Here,
Lassie?
Here.
Lossing?
Here.
White absent, Zupansich?
Here. Public input? No one is here. Approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 20th.
I'll move to approval.
Okay, motion by Lassie, do we have a second? I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Additions or deletions? We have the CEDA proposal that was emailed to everyone.
It was, there's also a
Here's-
printed copy up there if you wanted to pass it around, because it's, nope.
It's
the
pretty
one-
thick.
One above your hand there.
Yes. You got
Wait,
two.
one more.
So have you had a chance to glance? There was a link that was sent in the email.
I did not get a chance to look at that.
Okay, should we just table this to the next one?
There's
We-
another addition of the wetland delineation.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
So you have
okay,
to add
oops,
it.
sorry. Oh gosh, we're still on additions. All right, so we will put the new business of CEDA under C, new business. And then the wetland delineation under D, under new business. Any other
Wetlands and, what was that?
CEDA, CEDA,
No.
The
there's
survey,
Survey, yeah.
survey?
Survey.
a survey?
Put down, industrial park survey.
Survey. Industrial park, okay. Anything else? Well, the industrial park, we'll do the survey under 7B then.
Yeah, they're both, everything there is, the delineation and survey are all tied.
Oh, the wetland delineation was in the, all right, so we'll do wetland under 7B and survey under C. Survey, okay, and then just CEDA will be C under new business. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the additions and deletions?
Yep.
Motion by Lassie, do we have a
Second.
second? Second by Lossing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Loan update. Those are in your packets. That is an FYI. Does anyone have any questions? Okay,
Everyone's up to date.
pardon?
Everyone's up to date.
Unfinished business, industrial park, A. James?
Okay, well, you already approved the development of the designation of it, so now, Chad and those guys are interested in getting going as soon as possible. So the wetlands delineation, I asked the staff to reach out, and this is, I guess, this is the only proposal that we got.
So far, we're still waiting on the survey proposal.
I reached out to 3 companies in our area. I heard back from one, which would be Bear Island Surveying. He is working on getting us a quote. He said if we wanted to discuss at this meeting, ballpark number is gonna be around $5,000. He also said that they do not have a wetland delineator, so he referred me to that packet that you have right there. And he was able to get me a quote today, which is a little over $6,000. I did hear back from another of the surveyors. They said they do not have time or staff to take on our project at this time and referred us to Bear Island, and I have not heard back from the third. So far
So is Northern Lights one of them?
that is who said they do not have time for us.
Yeah.
So my thought is that we need to get this going. These guys are, they're chomping at the bit to go.
Well, they're on a timeline.
So I would really like to maybe take the Bear Island, if they can get it done as ASAP.
So it's, the Bear Island survey portion is ballpark $5,000, and then the wetland is the additional.
So it's
Yeah,
11,000 something.
I want to talk about the wetlands for just a minute too, but what do you guys think on the survey?
I mean, it has to be done.
Yeah,
It's got to get done, and we could actually maybe negotiate with Green Mining to pay it. Or charging more for the land.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we haven't discussed how
we
much they're
haven't
gonna charge
discussed
on
the
yet.
purchase agreement,
Well, there is no purchase, oh wait, no, they're
Yeah, they're gonna
leasing
have
it. Yeah, they're gonna purchase it,
Yeah.
yep. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, that can all be negotiated in there, but it needs to be done, so.
And I guess with both of those, we don't need that whole work delineated because most of it's water. You know, so I have a problem with the cost of the delineation being that much. Because obviously, we're not gonna be able to build anything in the lake or that pond. So I would like to have them just delineate sections across the road, maybe a couple 100 feet in.
Can you have them do that? Can you,
I guess we could talk to them, because why would you need to delineate the whole works if we can't build there anyway?
And what exactly does, when you use that word, what are they actually doing?
They're looking for wetlands.
I know, so when you
where
use the
you can
word
build and where you
delineate,
can't build?
yeah, they're, yeah.
I
So
mean, basically.
it's obvious, yeah. What you're saying is it's obvious, so why do we need to spend money to tell us it's obvious?
Well, the other thing is that a lot of lands that you think are suitable for building are not. Because even though there might not be any water there, there's plants that typically might grow in a wetland area, and they would delineate that as wetlands. As stupid as it is.
That's where
That's
you
the
find a
way-
lady slipper.
Yeah.
And then the setback thing, the smaller the area of water, the farther the setback is.
So that's why I would like just to maybe talk to this guy and see, and have him just go a couple 100 feet deep.
Mhm.
Maybe 300 feet up until, in other words, having, where the hell can we build?
Are we, this is going to be we'll have to relocate the snowmobile trail, is that what's under assumption here?
I don't think so. I think we can, well, I don't know.
Because if it was relocated, like even on the other side of the road right there, it wouldn't be any more, it wouldn't be much of a difference. And that would give more building, you know what I mean? You would have more dry area to the north,
Yeah.
a little ways, you know what I'm saying?
Towards the
'Cause
golf
you-
course.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Because, and it's not a lot, probably in the thickest spot right there, it might be 50 or 60 yards
Sure.
or something like that.
Yeah, I think relocating that road would not be a bad stuff to do.
The trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how should we go about doing this, to get it moving?
I've never dealt with this before, so I don't know if they do just like areas or if they do whole parcels or sections.
Can they be invited to a planning, do they have representatives? This is a private company, correct? Okay.
Yeah, if we could just have him go these top sections in here, like just from a little bit south of the road up to the property line, which is right on the golf course, basically. And find out where we have wetlands and where it's good.
Do you want to direct staff to do that? Because we need to, get this moving sooner than later. Do you know
Yeah.
what his time frame is? Did he mention it?
Yeah, like yesterday?
Yeah.
No, his time frame, he was available like tomorrow?
Oh,
He-
no, I
this
thought
guy
it was
seems to-
money.
He got back to us right away.
He did say too that they are kind of in between projects right now where they had a couple of their larger projects put on hold, so they're ready to
They're
start
ready.
immediately, so I feel like he may be willing to come meet, whatever you guys wanna go with.
Do you want to give conditional, approval?
Well, if you want me to meet with him and go out there or just talk to him and let him know what we have in mind, and if you have an approximate figure of what you think we should spend, I could do that.
You know, SEH always did them before and they were just always lumped in. Do you guys have any idea like what they ended up? Like, I just remember seeing them as a line item.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
even know
not
if
sure.
it was included.
We just did one out at the PUC, but it was like for 60 acres,
Yeah.
so I don't, I can look at that line item and see, I can give you that number, I don't have it in front of me, but I can look at it.
Well, why don't you give him a call tomorrow, or as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And tell him what we're thinking, we don't need the whole 40s both 40s because it's all, half of it's water.
Jim, I do have a question here, because you just mentioned on the other side of the road, is there a consideration to use that property where the road is and bring the road in from maybe where the snowmobile trail comes in now on the west side of the golf course? Is that what your
Yeah.
thought is on that?
Ideally, we looked at like this area here
Right,
for them.
right.
And that's what I would like to have delineated first. Now, if we have to, we can go down deeper or a little bit up here too. But ideally, I think we should try here first.
Right.
Well, he got the parcels that we were looking at having delineated, right? So he could see that they're mostly underwater.
Yeah.
So is his estimate based on the higher land?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It looks like he
Like,
estimated everything. Can we bring
We
that
could
up?
get the field work started in the next week with a report tentatively in early July for regulatory approval review. We could get a draft map over for planning within days of completion of field work. He didn't say, so once the delineation is approved, we would next work on any exemptions. If no exemptions are allowed, a wetland replacement or mitigation plan, as well as the Federal Army Corps of Engineers would be required for a joint application. This process requires the purchase of wetland credits to offset the total wetland impacts.
if we wanted to build in wetlands areas.
Yeah.
So if you guys make a motion to allow Jim to meet with the guy, we'll just give him a call and see if we can set something up for them to meet this week and,
Yeah, since you volunteered, Jim. You're gonna be busy.
Yeah, I want to get him going too. I want my pot.
All right, so is there a motion on the floor
I
to
don't do pot, I'm just kidding.
quote? So is there a motion on the floor? Who's making the motion to
I'll
have?
make a motion to have Jim meet with the wetland delineation person.
And
Okay.
have the staff contact him,
Okay.
set up a time.
Okay, motion by Fitzpatrick, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Lossing. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, man, I wanted to add
And
something.
how about the survey? Do we need to do anything there?
Do we have to have the delineation first before the survey can be done?
I
No?
don't think so.
No,
I think
then
they-
I.
I don't-
Survey's just finding lot lines, or plot property
Yeah.
lines, right?
Yeah.
Lot lines, parcel lines.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just
Oh.
asking, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd say jump on that right away, just because they need legal descriptions to say where they're leasing.
So do you want to approve the tentative quote with Bear Island not to exceed 5,000?
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Lossing, do we have a second?
Yeah. I'll
Second by Lassie. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
I have
Oops,
quick
sorry.
discussion. If the tentative quote was 5,000, do you want to go more than 5,000? If this needs to get done no matter what, you can wrap it into the sale or lease of this land, number one. Number two, just wanted to thank Kirsten for taking care of that last minute. She was able to pull this off really quick, put my best agent on the case.
That's sweet. Thank you,
You're-
Kirsten.
Your old agent. Okay, do you want to amend your motion, Mr. Lossing? I think, or did Fitzpatrick? No,
No, it was
Fitzpatrick
me.
did it. Oh, it
It
was
was
you? Okay.
With wiggle room. Yeah, I
Up to
guess,
5,500, 57?
I just don't want that to be a constraint on an official motion and then it
Yeah,
ends up
no,
being
good call.
5,300 and we say, well,
Yeah.
now we gotta go back to council.
Mhm.
We're eating
Yeah, you can use longer.
So what is the motion reading now? 5,000?
mhm.
Up to 5,000, so he's
Up to
gonna
5,000.
he's gonna amend it to up to 55, 57? This is coming out of EDA funds, right?
it. Correct.
Do we know how much money EDA has?
She also did give us an update on that. Just kind of went through the accounting stuff and it wasn't, we don't spend a whole lot out of there, so it's probably pretty accurate. There's about $281,757.
Let's look at 20,000.
Well, usually, if they gave her a semi quote, they're usually within 10%, so you'd be looking at 55 or something, you know, so,
Yeah, okay, so you're amending yours up
Sure.
to 55?
sure.
Okay, and John, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Lossing.
Yes,
White absent, Sapansich.
Yes, motion carries.
I'm not 100% sure where I am.
Okay, unfinished business A, B, and C, we got you all, right, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, so now it's me, and I'm stepping down right now to present an offer on the commercial lots as well as the showing agreement. So take her away, Louis.
okay. So new business, item number A, Swoops North Realty Commercial Showing and Compensation Agreement.
Okay, so as you know, the contract, the listing agreement for the commercial lots has expired. So I have to, in order to sell the properties, I have to present the council with a compensation agreement. This is a one-time compensation agreement specifically for this one person. It's literally the same compensation as it was for the listing contract of $750 per lot. Compensation if you enter into and close on an agreed upon purchase agreement for the lots, specifically only for the person whose name is on the contract of Stephanie Tesla. So that's my thing for that. There's two parts to it, so.
So
Well,
we would need a motion.
yes, so I will, make a motion to accept the compensation agreement, which was the same as what we had before the contract ended, so it's nothing new. And we need to do it in order to move forward. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Fitzpatrick. Discussion. Hearing none? Roll call.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Lossing.
Yes.
White absent, Sapansich abstain.
Abstain. Thank you very much, Counselor. So next I have to present to you a commercial purchase agreement for lots 15, 16, 17 Commerce Street for Stephanie Tesla. She would like to build on these lots at a price of $3,000, or I'm sorry, that's the earnest money she put down, for a total amount of $15,000. So pretty much the same amount as what Green Mining offered for those three lots, 100% cash. Closing, we ballparked it August 29th. She has spoken with planning and zoning. Ms. Councilman Lassie, she spoke with, I believe, right? Did she go through the whole planning and
Yeah.
zoning?
Conversation with her.
Yeah, she's not doing anything outside of what's allotted out there. She would like to put a restaurant in and I believe like a building, right, for STEM?
Yeah, she's gonna do the restaurant and then another building for robotics.
Yep, Robotics
things like
Training
that.
Center.
But everything that she's gonna do is permitted use in the LIBD area, which is
It's pretty exciting, actually.
It is, it's very
It's the
exciting.
first commercial building we'll have there since I've been around.
and we'll have food
Yeah.
in town.
Yeah, I think she talked about ice cream
She's
too.
gonna do ice cream and sandwich burgers and all that kind of stuff.
And I think breakfast too, she mentioned. So yeah, it's okay, but she's really excited about it and it's nice to see excitement
Yes,
on lots.
absolutely.
So I'll move we
So-
approve the purchase agreement.
Motion by Lassie to approve purchase agreement. So here's a second.
I'll second.
Second by Fitzpatrick. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Lossing.
Yes.
White absent, Sapansich
Abstain. Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything.
No.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie's gonna be very excited.
Oh, move to adjourn.
Isn't that about it?
No, we have to see that thing
See
again.
that?
I know, I'm sorry.
Oh, darn.
I'm almost doing it. It's gonna be right now.
So, just have the minutes reflect a motion that you're
I'm back on,
back and,
I'm back
yeah.
in the seat.
And it's 7:04.
7:04. Okay, so, we have the CETA proposal. Do you remember CETA?
Yep.
They came in, so this is a proposal, and then she brought sample, or the links for the sample, strategic plans. This is something that they're presenting for the city. And, the total is $13,000 to $14,000. There is a resident survey, which I thought was interesting. And I know we always talk about what the,
I have to get to my
that's
next
fine,
meeting.
that's fine. Thank
Safe
you, thank you
travels,
for
Joel.
coming, Joe.
If by some chance you need me, you can call me on the way.
Okay. I kind of like the resident survey option, because we're always talking about what do the residents want, and that is our job as elected officials to know what they want. But it would be interesting to hear if they had any other takes on things, if, and again, can be put in there or not, whatever you guys decide. We have not gotten the first impression, is that what they called it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have not gotten that yet, I think. In the email, did she say a couple weeks? I can't remember now, I forwarded you everything.
Yeah, I can't remember what she said today.
Yeah, I can't, yeah, I'm not coming. So, you can see as we have money. I think this is probably one of the first things the city of Babbitt has done to actually have whether it's a person or a company or anything like that, actually looking into something like this on behalf of the city of Babbitt. I remember a couple of years ago, we were approached to share Ely's economic development coordinator, and that was turned down. And so it's nice to have, obviously our staff is super busy. They don't have time to be drafting any of this kind of stuff up and looking and searching and everything else. And as far as costs go, I think it's very affordable.
So right.
It's very similar to a comprehensive plan in many aspects.
Mhm.
Not to exceed fee of $12,230. That's what it says.
Yeah, well, that's the strategic plan. Then there is the coordinated visit discount, and then there's the optional add-in of the survey. The survey is optional, so you don't have to do that.
Can I chime in one more
Yeah.
time before the end of the night?
Yeah.
Just going through what I've been through a couple times now in the city and knowing what the workload is in our office, I think this is an absolute amazing plan, and if we can afford it, I think that it will give a lot of the forward movement that this council wants, that our administrative staff just doesn't have the capacity to do right now. We've got a lot on our plate, and especially with a new person coming in, and actually we have two new supervisors coming in because our PUC superintendent's being replaced as well. So there's a lot of that going on, and I think that this would be just an amazing idea, and I think they would work really, really well with our staff.
City of Cook is doing it. Cook is even smaller than us. That's where I actually found out about them, was from one of the mayor meetings, and Dan Manick is the mayor of Cook now. And they spoke very highly of them in their first impression report. What's the other town? There's a couple other towns at the mayor meetings that all said they're amazing and they do fantastic work. These are all smaller towns, similar to us, that don't have someone that's an economic coordinator and helping grow. And then there, as she was here for her presentation of the city, they bounce things off each other. They're able to get grants that we're typically going in. We're always hitting up the IRRB, and God love them. They haven't told us to go away yet, but we need to start looking at other options. They found a grant for paint, like she said, so.
So they-
Done by December.
It's good timing for us with our housing project dilemma type situation where we're just stuck in the mud a little bit. So I stayed at the the gentleman that started this company in his house last fall, and we sat and talked about a whole bunch of stuff, and they think out of the box, like when it comes to housing development and stuff, where they did some apartment buildings in certain smaller towns. I mean, so they're not a cookie cutter type situation. They really try to,
Customers.
customize for what your needs are, so.
Well, even down to the couple things that were on our agenda tonight, you know, the dog park, the saddle club. All the little things, all the big things, the daycare system, everything that we're applying for our bonding for. And what a good step for our new clerk to come in with some assistance. I think that would be great.
Sir, you're a hell of a salesperson.
Thanks,
And this,
Kylie
and this,
Miller,
and this
you're
would
the
come,
best.
this would come out of, this would come, you know,
This has come
there
out
is
of
some,
the EDA
it
budget.
has come out of the EDA budget, so we do have a little bit of money there. And if it actually could produce something, it would be money well spent.
And you know, that was one thing that they talked about a lot is like, this is what we're spending, whatever it may be, if we decide to do the survey. It could potentially pay for itself 3 times over or more.
I think we should
So-
try it.
I think once we get that, first look thing, it's gonna give us a lot, we'll have a lot better idea of what it's really all about.
I started like explaining the town and everything to them, and they're like, stop. I'm like, okay.
So,
So do we have a motion to go ahead with this proposal?
I'll make a motion if we go to get ahead with this proposal, including the residential survey.
Okay, motion by Fitzpatrick. Do we have a second? I'll make that second. Any discussion? I'm really excited to see how this turns out.
Done.
I'm really excited about this, so, okay, roll call please.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Lossing.
yes,
White. Absent. Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. That is it.
Now?
Now you can, now you
Move to
can.
adjourn.
Motion by Lassie to adjourn. Do we have a second?
yes.
Second by Lossing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think this is the longest EDA meeting I have ever been at in 10 years for having.
Let's cut this baloney out, come on. I like the
No.
board,